What if the greatest lie ever told wasn't that death exists, but that you could ever experience it at all? In 1891, a woman lay dying in London. Her name was Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, and she had spent her entire life unlocking secrets that empires wanted buried forever. As her final breath approached, those gathered around her bedside expected tears, prayers, or perhaps fear. Instead, she smiled. "I am not going anywhere," she whispered. "I am simply moving through a door you cannot yet see." What did she know that terrified the religious authorities of her time? Why were her books burned, her teachings condemned, and her name dragged through the mud by those who claimed to hold the keys to heaven? The answer lies in something so paradigm-shattering that if you truly understand it, you will never fear death again. More than that, you will never see life the same way. Helena Blavatsky didn't just speak about reincarnation, she decoded it. She revealed that what we call the wheel of reincarnation isn't a punishment or even a spiritual lesson. It's evidence of something far more extraordinary. Your consciousness, the very awareness reading these words right now, can never be extinguished. Not by death, not by time, not by anything in this universe or beyond it. This isn't religion, this isn't wishful thinking. This is the secret that ancient mystery schools, Gnostic teachers and quantum physicists are all pointing toward from different angles. Your soul doesn't die and then come back. That's the simplified version they taught you. The truth is stranger, more beautiful and more terrifying. You never leave, you only shift. You are always awake, always aware, always continuing your journey through infinite possibilities. But why has this truth been hidden? Why do we fear death if it isn't real? And what does this mean for the way you're living right now, in this very moment? If you're intrigued by what you've heard so far, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. It truly helps us continue bringing you content like this that challenges everything you thought you knew about existence itself. Are you ready to step through the door Helena Blavatsky held open? Because once you see what's on the other side, there's no going back to the comfortable lie. To understand why Helena Blavatsky's revelations about the soul's immortality matter, you need to understand who she was and what she risked to bring this knowledge into the light. Born in 1831 in Ukraine, Helena was not an ordinary child. While other girls played with dolls, she spoke of memories from other lives. She described places she'd never visited with uncanny accuracy. She could see through the veil that separates one lifetime from another, and this gift, this curse, would define her entire existence. By her 20s, she had traveled to Tibet, India, Egypt, and places most Westerners of her era never dreamed of visiting. She wasn't a tourist. She was a seeker, an initiate, someone hungry for the truth that religions only hinted at in their carefully edited scriptures. What Blavatsky discovered during those decades of study would become the Secret Doctrine, a massive work that synthesized ancient wisdom from across the world. But more importantly, she uncovered something that the mystery schools of Egypt, the Gnostics of the early Christian era, and the masters of Tibet all agreed upon. The soul is not a fragile thing that lives once and then faces eternal judgment. The soul is indestructible, eternal, and constantly moving through layers of existence that most people never consciously recognize. She learned that what we call death is merely a transition point, a doorway between states of consciousness. The body dies, yes. The personality, the ego, the small self that identifies with your name and your story, that dissolves. But the core of you, the witness, the I am behind your thoughts, that never ceases. It cannot cease. It is woven into the fabric of reality itself. Blavatsky didn't just theorize about this. She claimed to remember her past lives with crystal clarity. She spoke of being a student in ancient mystery schools, of walking through Egyptian temples, of sitting at the feet of masters who taught her the mechanics of consciousness. And she warned that humanity had forgotten this truth, had been deliberately cut off from it by religious institutions that preferred fearful, obedient followers over awakened, sovereign souls. The wheel of reincarnation, she explained, isn't about punishment or reward. It's about exploration. Your soul is an eternal traveler, and each lifetime is like a chapter in an infinite book. You are not trying to escape the wheel. You are learning to remember that you are the one turning it. You are not trapped in the cycle. You are the cycle itself, expressing consciousness in endless forms. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Blavatsky taught that most souls move through life after life in a kind of spiritual amnesia, never waking up to their true nature. They reincarnate, yes, but unconsciously, automatically, like sleepwalkers moving from room to room in a vast mansion, never realizing they could open their eyes and see the whole structure. The real work, she insisted, is not about escaping reincarnation. It's about waking up within it. It's about becoming conscious in the dream. And this brings us to the question that changes everything. If you are eternal, if your consciousness never truly ends, then what are you doing with this lifetime? Are you sleepwalking through it, or are you awake? Before we go deeper into this mystery, I want to ask you something. What city in the United States are you watching this from? Or what country in the world is this content reaching you in? Leave it in the comments. I genuinely want to know where this message is landing. Now, let's unlock the first great revelation that Blavatsky brought back from the hidden temples of the East. Here is where everything you thought you knew begins to crack open. Helena Blavatsky sat across from a student one evening in New York, where she had founded the Theosophical Society. The student, anxious and troubled, asked her, "Madame Blavatsky, if I've lived before, why can't I remember? How can I believe in reincarnation if I have no memory of who I was?" Blavatsky's response was not gentle. It was a thunderclap. "You do not remember," she said, "because you think you are the story. You think you are the character in the play. But the truth is, you are the actor. And when the play ends, the actor removes the costume, steps off the stage, and prepares for the next performance. The character dies. The actor never does. Let that sink in for a moment. You are not your name. You are not your history, your traumas, your achievements, or your failures. Those are the costumes, the roles you've taken on in this particular lifetime. The real you, the consciousness that is aware of all these things, is something far more vast and eternal." Blavatsky taught that the soul moves through what she called planes of existence. The physical plane, where your body lives and dies, is just one layer. Beyond it are emotional planes, mental planes, and spiritual planes, each more subtle and expansive than the last. When your body dies, your awareness doesn't vanish. It withdraws from the densest layer and continues its journey through these higher realms. And eventually, when the time is right, it returns to the physical plane, choosing a new body, a new set of circumstances, a new story to explore. But here's the secret within the secret. The soul doesn't reincarnate blindly. It's not random. According to Blavatsky and the ancient teachings she studied, your soul chooses. It selects the lifetime, the family, the challenges, and even the gifts that will best serve its evolution. Every life is like a carefully chosen adventure, designed to awaken you to more of your infinite nature. Now imagine this for a moment. Imagine that before you were born into this body, you looked at all the possible lives you could live and said, "Yes, this one, this story, these challenges, this is how I will grow." What if every struggle, every loss, every moment of beauty and pain was part of a curriculum you designed for yourself? This is not about blame or guilt. It's about power. It's about recognizing that you are not a victim of fate. You are the architect of your own existence, moving through lifetimes like an artist moves through canvases, each one a new expression of the same eternal creative force. Blavatsky also revealed something even more unsettling. Most souls don't wake up to this truth until they've cycled through countless lifetimes. They live, they die, they forget, and they do it all over again, trapped not by any external force but by their own ignorance. The archons, the rulers of the material world that the Gnostics warned about, are not some external demons. They are the illusions of separation, fear, and forgetfulness that we cling to lifetime after lifetime. But the moment you remember, the moment you see through the costume and recognize yourself as the actor, everything changes. You begin to live consciously. You stop fearing death because you know it's just the end of one scene and the beginning of another. You stop clinging to this life as if it's the only one because you understand it's part of an infinite journey. So what happens when you die? According to Blavatsky, you don't go to some distant heaven or hell. You step into a state of rest and review, processing the lessons of the life you just lived. And then, when your soul is ready, you return. Not as the same person, but as the same eternal consciousness wearing a new face. If this is resonating with you, if this is opening something inside you, Comment below with your thoughts and share this video. The more people who hear this truth, the more we can break the spell of forgetting together. But now the question becomes even more pressing. If you've lived before, if you'll live again, what is this lifetime really about? What are you supposed to be doing here? The answer might surprise you, and it might change everything. Blavatsky didn't stop at simply telling people they were immortal. She mapped out the structure of immortality itself, the hidden architecture of consciousness that allows the soul to move through endless cycles without ever being lost. Think of your soul like a thread, a single unbreakable golden thread that weaves through countless lifetimes, connecting them all. Each life is a bead on that thread, distinct and unique, but part of one continuous line. When you die, you don't drop off the thread. You simply move to the next bead. She called this thread the Sutratma, the silver cord that links all your incarnations together. It's why sometimes, in quiet moments, you feel a strange familiarity with a place you've never been, or a person you've just met. It's why certain fears or talents seem to come out of nowhere. They're not random. They're echoes from other beads on your thread, other lives you've lived. But here's where it gets practical. Blavatsky wasn't interested in people just believing in reincarnation. She wanted them to use this knowledge to live better now. She taught that understanding the law of karma, the law of cause and effect that spans across lifetimes, wasn't about guilt or punishment. It was about responsibility. Every action, every thought, every intention you put out into the world creates ripples that will eventually come back to you. If not in this life, then in another. This isn't a religious threat. It's physics. It's the recognition that you are part of a living, responsive universe, and what you put in, you get back. If you live with kindness, awareness, and courage, you're planting seeds that will bloom in your future, whether that future is tomorrow or 3 lifetimes from now. If you live in fear, cruelty, or unconsciousness, those seeds will also bear fruit. Blavatsky emphasized that this isn't about being perfect. It's about being conscious. It's about waking up to the fact that your choices matter, not because some God is judging you, but because you are creating yourself, lifetime by lifetime. And here's something beautiful she taught. You're never alone on this journey. She spoke of something she called the Oversoul, a higher aspect of yourself that exists beyond time, watching over all your incarnations like a parent watching a child grow through different stages. This Oversoul isn't separate from you. It is you, the fullest, most awakened version of you, guiding your journey from a place of infinite wisdom and love. When you have a sudden insight, a moment of clarity that seems to come from nowhere, that's your Oversoul reaching through the veil, reminding you of what you truly are. When you feel a deep, inexplicable pull toward a certain path or purpose, that's your higher self nudging you toward the lessons and experiences that will serve your evolution. Blavatsky also taught that the wheel of reincarnation isn't eternal in the way most people think. Yes, you will live many lives, perhaps hundreds or thousands, depending on what your soul needs to learn and experience. But there comes a point, she said, when the soul has fully awakened, when it has integrated all the lessons, transcended all the illusions, and remembered its divine nature. At that point, it no longer needs to incarnate in the physical world. It graduates to higher planes of existence, becoming a conscious co-creator with the divine itself. This is the promise hidden in the wheel. You're not spinning endlessly with no destination. You're spiraling upward, lifetime by lifetime, toward full awakening. And every moment of consciousness, every act of love, every choice to wake up rather than stay asleep, accelerates that spiral. So the question becomes, what are you learning in this lifetime? What is your soul trying to remember? What part of your infinite nature is this particular story designed to reveal? Now, we arrive at the crossroads, the place where the comfortable illusion ends and the real choice begins. Blavatsky warned that knowing the truth about reincarnation and the soul's immortality isn't automatically liberating. In fact, it can be dangerous if you don't understand the full picture. Because along with the light of this knowledge comes a shadow, a challenge that every soul must eventually face. The challenge is this: if you know you're eternal, if you know you'll have countless lifetimes to learn and grow, it becomes very easy to fall into spiritual laziness. To say, why bother trying so hard in this life? I'll figure it out in the next one. This is the trap that keeps souls spinning on the wheel for eons, never quite waking up, always putting off the real work of consciousness. Blavatsky called this the illusion of time. Yes, you have eternity. But this moment, this lifetime, this choice you're making right now is irreplaceable. This exact configuration of circumstances, challenges, and opportunities will never exist again. Miss it, and you don't get a do-over in the same way. You get a different life with different lessons, but this one, this precious now, is gone forever. This is the paradox at the heart of reincarnation. You are eternal, and this moment is fleeting. Both are true. And the awakened soul learns to hold both truths at once, to live with urgency and presence, while also resting in the knowledge that death is not the end. But there's another shadow Blavatsky illuminated, one that's even more unsettling. She taught that not all souls progress at the same rate. Some awaken quickly, piercing through the veil of illusion in just a few lifetimes. Others get stuck, cycling through the same patterns, the same mistakes, the same unconscious choices for hundreds of incarnations. And in rare tragic cases, a soul can even regress, falling into such deep ignorance and cruelty that it begins to lose its connection to the divine spark altogether. This is what some traditions call the second death, the death of the soul itself. Blavatsky didn't speak of this lightly. She believed it was possible for a soul to become so identified with the illusion, so lost in the material world, that it eventually dissolves, losing its individuality and returning to the cosmic ocean of undifferentiated consciousness. This isn't punishment, it's entropy. It's the natural consequence of refusing to wake up, lifetime after lifetime. But here's the good news, the light that balances the shadow. You are reading this right now. You are asking questions. You are seeking. That means your soul is awake enough to feel the pull toward truth. That means you are not lost. You are, in this very moment, making the choice to evolve, to remember, to climb the spiral rather than spin in circles. Every spiritual tradition has a version of this teaching. The Buddhists call it breaking the cycle of samsara. The Gnostics called it escaping the archons and returning to the pleroma. Blavatsky simply called it awakening to your true nature. Different words, same reality. You are here to wake up. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to do it alone. Blavatsky founded the Theosophical Society not just to share this knowledge, but to create a community of seekers, a network of souls supporting each other in the great work of remembering. Because when you surround yourself with others who are committed to waking up, you accelerate your own evolution. You see your reflection in their journey. You're reminded again and again that you are not crazy for questioning the mainstream narrative. You are sane. If you're feeling the truth of this, if something inside you is saying yes, subscribe to this channel right now. Don't wait. This community is here to support you in your awakening, and we're not going anywhere. So here's the question that stands before you. Will you use this lifetime consciously? Will you make choices that align with your soul's deepest knowing? Or will you let fear, distraction, and the noise of the world pull you back into spiritual sleep? The choice is yours. It always has been. There's a secret about reincarnation that Blavatsky revealed, one so profound that it changes everything. And most people, even those who believe in past lives, never hear it. The secret is this: you are not reincarnating in linear time. Let that settle for a moment. We've been taught to think of reincarnation as a sequence, as if you lived in ancient Egypt, then medieval Europe, then Victorian England, and now here in the 21st century, one life following another in a neat chronological line. But Blavatsky, drawing on the deepest teachings of the mystery schools, revealed something far stranger. All your lifetimes are happening simultaneously. Time, as you experience it, is an illusion of the physical plane. It's a construct of the limited human mind trying to make sense of a much vaster reality. But from the perspective of your oversoul, from the view of your higher consciousness, all your lives, past, present, and future, are occurring at once. They are different expressions of the same eternal you, playing out across the infinite canvas of existence. This is why you can sometimes access memories from other lives. This is why certain skills or knowledge seem to come naturally to you, even though you've never formally learned them in this lifetime. You're not remembering the past. You're tuning into parallel expressions of your own consciousness. And here's where it connects to something modern science is only beginning to whisper about: the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, the idea that every choice creates a branching reality, a parallel timeline. What if reincarnation isn't about your soul hopping from one body to another across time, but about your consciousness simultaneously inhabiting multiple realities, multiple versions of existence, all at once? Blavatsky didn't have the language of quantum physics, but she described something remarkably similar. She spoke of the soul existing on multiple planes simultaneously, of consciousness being far more fluid and multidimensional than the linear story we tell ourselves. This means that when you die in this timeline, your consciousness doesn't blink out. It simply shifts its focus to another reality, another expression, another version of the infinite story. You are always awake somewhere. You are always continuing. Death, as you've been taught to fear it, is not an ending. It's a transition of attention. But here's the part that will really bend your mind. If all your lifetimes are happening at once, then the choices you make in this moment are affecting all of them. When you choose to wake up in this life, you send ripples of consciousness through the entire web of your existence. You literally change your past and future by changing your present awareness. This is the real power of now. This is why every moment matters, because you are not just living one life. You are the nexus point of infinite lives, all connected, all influencing each other. Blavatsky taught that advanced souls, those who had awakened to this truth, could consciously navigate this web. They could access wisdom from their other lives. They could heal patterns that echoed across multiple incarnations. They could, in essence, become the conscious masters of their own wheel of reincarnation, no longer spinning helplessly, but steering with intention and awareness. If this is blowing your mind, if you're starting to see the bigger picture, hit that like button right now. This information needs to spread. More people need to know the truth about who and what they really are. So what does this mean for you? It means that the life you're living right now is not separate from all the other expressions of your soul. It's intimately connected. And the more conscious you become here, the more you awaken the entire network of your being. But there's still one more piece of the puzzle, one more revelation that ties it all together, and it's waiting for you just ahead. Now let's bring this ancient wisdom into your daily life. Let's translate the mystical into the practical. Because knowing the truth about your soul's immortality is one thing. Living from that truth is something else entirely. Look around at the world right now. Look at how people live, the choices they make, the fears that drive them. Most are operating from a place of deep amnesia, convinced that this one life is all there is, that death is the ultimate enemy, and that accumulation of wealth, status, or security can somehow protect them from the inevitable end. But you now know differently. You know that death is not the end. You know that your consciousness is eternal. So the question becomes, how does this change the way you live? First, it removes the sting of urgency that comes from believing you only have one shot at existence. You can breathe, you can take risks, you can explore, experiment, and even fail, knowing that this life is one chapter in an infinite book. The pressure to get it right dissolves when you realize there's no final judgment, only continuous growth. But second, and this is crucial, it also intensifies the preciousness of this moment. Because while you are eternal, this exact configuration of you, this personality, this body, this set of relationships and circumstances will never exist again. When this life ends, you'll move on to something new. So the paradox is that knowing you're immortal should make you live more fully now, not less. Blavatsky saw this playing out in the people around her. Those who truly understood reincarnation became more compassionate, more present, more willing to love deeply and risk greatly, because they knew that clinging to safety was pointless. They knew that every soul they encountered was also on an eternal journey, and that today's enemy might be tomorrow's teacher, or vice versa. This is how the wheel of reincarnation becomes visible in your everyday life. You start to notice patterns. You recognize that the same lessons keep showing up in different forms until you finally learn them. You see that the people who trigger you the most are often reflecting back something you need to heal within yourself. You realize that nothing is random, that every encounter, every challenge, every moment of joy or pain is part of a larger curriculum designed by your own soul. And once you see this, you can't unsee it. You begin to live as if everything matters because it does. You treat each person as the eternal being they are. You make choices based not on fear or immediate gratification, but on what will serve your soul's evolution. You become, in Blavatsky's words, a conscious co-creator with the universe itself. This is not about being perfect, it's about being awake. It's about recognizing that you are both the student and the teacher, both the question and the answer, both the journey and the destination. The wheel of reincarnation is not something happening to you. It is you in motion, exploring infinite possibilities, learning, growing, and slowly but surely remembering the vastness of what you truly are. So here we are. You've heard the secret. You've seen behind the curtain. Now comes the moment that every initiate faces. What will you do with this knowledge? Blavatsky taught that there are essentially two paths available once you wake up to the truth about your soul's immortality. The first path is the path of the sleeper, who has stirred but chooses to roll over and return to the dream. These are the people who hear the truth, feel a momentary spark of recognition, and then allow the world to pull them back into unconsciousness. They return to their routines, their distractions, their comfortable illusions, and the knowledge fades like a half-remembered dream. The second path is the path of the awakened seeker. This is the person who hears the truth and says, I want to know more. I want to live from this understanding. I want to become conscious in this lifetime, not just drift through it. This path is not easy. It requires courage. It requires you to question everything you've been taught, to release beliefs that no longer serve you, and to step into a larger version of yourself. Which path will you choose? Here's what Blavatsky would want you to understand. This choice is not made once. It's made every single day, every single moment. You don't decide to be awake and then coast on that decision for the rest of your life. Awakening is a practice, a continuous choosing to remember, to stay present, to align with your highest truth, even when the world tempts you to forget. And the truth is, most people will choose the first path, not because they're bad or weak, but because waking up is uncomfortable. It disrupts the status quo. It makes you different from those around you. It asks you to take responsibility for your life in a way that's far more demanding than simply blaming circumstances or playing the victim. But you're still here. You've read this far. That tells me something about you. It tells me you're one of the rare ones, the souls who came into this lifetime with the specific intention of breaking through the veil, of remembering the truth, of contributing to the collective awakening of humanity. So let me ask you directly, what will you do? Will you let this information fade into the background noise of your life, or will you take action? Comment below. Tell me what's stirring inside you right now. What question is this raising? What fear is it confronting? Let's talk about it, because here's what Blavatsky knew and what every true teacher knows. The path of awakening is walked together. You need mirrors, companions, fellow travelers who remind you of the truth when the illusion gets thick. You need community. You need support. And you need to offer that same support to others. This is not a solitary journey, even though each soul must walk it for themselves. We are all connected, all threads in the same vast tapestry. When you wake up, you help others wake up. When you remember, you help others remember. This is the real work of this lifetime, to become a light in the darkness, a reminder of what's possible. So the choice is yours. But know this, your soul already knows what it came here to do. Deep down, beneath all the fear and doubt, you already know why you're here. You already know what you're being called toward. The only question is, will you answer the call? Now we come to the climax, the moment when everything converges. The moment when the veil grows thin and you can almost see through to the other side. Blavatsky, in her final days, spoke of something she called the final initiation. She said that every soul, at some point in its journey, reaches a threshold, a moment when all the lifetimes, all the lessons, all the suffering and joy culminate in one pivotal choice. It's the moment when you can either step fully into your divine nature or turn back into the safety of the familiar, the known, the small self. She described it as standing at a gate. Behind you is everything you've ever known, every identity you've clung to, every story you've told yourself about who you are. Before you is vast, infinite, terrifying freedom. The freedom of knowing you are not your story. The freedom of recognizing yourself as the eternal consciousness that has been wearing these stories like costumes. To step through the gate, you have to die. Not physically, but spiritually. You have to let go of everything you think you are. Every attachment, every fear, every need to be seen or understood or validated. You have to surrender completely to the mystery, trusting that what's on the other side is worth the loss of everything you thought you needed to survive. This is the true death, not the death of the body, but the death of the illusion, the death of separation, the death of the small, frightened self that believes it's separate from the infinite. And when you make that choice, when you step through that gate, something extraordinary happens. You don't disappear. You become more yourself than you've ever been. You recognize that you were never separate from the divine. You were always it, always have been, always will be. The journey of countless lifetimes was just the long way home, the spiral path back to the truth that was always here, waiting patiently for you to remember. Blavatsky taught that this final initiation doesn't happen in some distant future lifetime. It can happen now, in this moment, in the space between your thoughts, in the silent awareness that notices you're aware. This is the secret of secrets. Enlightenment is not something you achieve, it's something you realize you've always been. But here's the paradox. Even after this realization, even after stepping through the gate, you're still here. You're still in a body, still living a human life. The difference is, you're no longer trapped by it. You're free within it. You live in the world but no longer of the world, as the mystics say. You play the game with full presence, but you never forget it's a game. This is what Blavatsky embodied in her life. She faced ridicule, persecution, illness and loss, yet she remained unshakable in her truth, because she knew. She had stepped through the gate. She had died to the illusion and been reborn into the reality of her eternal nature. And now she's inviting you to do the same. Not someday, not in some future lifetime now. If this message has touched you, if you feel the gate opening before you, share this video. Send it to someone who needs to hear this truth. Be the one who extends the invitation to another soul. Because that's how the light spreads, one awakened heart at a time. The final confrontation is not with some external enemy. It's with your own fear, your own resistance to letting go and stepping into the infinite. And the beautiful thing is, you've already won. Because you're still here, still listening, still willing to consider that maybe, just maybe, everything you've been told about death and life and the soul is only a fraction of the real story. The gate is open. Will you walk through? And so we arrive at the end, which is really just another beginning. Helena Blavatsky left this world in 1891, but she never really left at all. Because she understood what you now understand. Death is not the end. It's a doorway, a threshold, a moment of transition into the next chapter of the infinite story. Her final words were not of fear or regret. They were words of recognition, of welcome, of stepping consciously into the great mystery she had spent her life exploring. She knew that her consciousness would continue, that the wheel would turn, and that somewhere, in some form, she would awaken again, remembering and teaching, guiding other souls toward the same liberation she had found. And that liberation is available to you right now. Not someday. Not after you've read more books or meditated for more years or lived more lifetimes. Now, in this breath, in this moment of awareness. Because the secret Blavatsky brought back from the hidden temples, the truth she risked everything to share, is simply this. You are already free. You always have been. The wheel of reincarnation is not a prison. It's your playground, your canvas, your infinite opportunity to explore, create, and remember the divine nature that has never left you. The only thing keeping you from experiencing this freedom is the belief that you're trapped. The only thing keeping you spinning unconsciously on the wheel is forgetting that you're the one turning it. Wake up, and the prison dissolves. Remember, and the journey becomes joy. So what now? Now you live. You live fully, courageously, consciously. You make choices that align with your soul's truth. You love without holding back because you know love is eternal. You take risks because you know failure is just another form of learning. You forgive because you recognize that everyone you meet is also an eternal soul, stumbling through their own journey of remembering. And most importantly, you share this truth. You become a light for others, a reminder that death is not the end, that consciousness is eternal, and that we are all part of one infinite, beautiful, terrifying, glorious adventure. Blavatsky's legacy is not in her books or her organizations. It's in the souls who wake up, because of what she taught. It's in you right now, making the choice to live as the eternal being you truly are. If you've stayed with this journey until the end, I want you to do something. Subscribe to this channel, leave a like, and in the comments, share what touched you most in this story. What insight shifted something inside you? What question is still burning? Let's continue this conversation, because this is just the beginning of your conscious journey on the wheel of reincarnation, and I want to be here to support you every step of the way. Welcome home, eternal soul. You've always been here. You've always been awake. You were just pretending to sleep for a while. Now the dream is over and the real adventure begins.